Now, the biggest question for Palestinians and Israelis alike is what will Donald Trump's policies end up looking like in the Middle East? Dr. Chuck Freilich is a former Deputy National Security Advisor, and he joins us today to discuss three major issues of concern: the American embassy in Tel Aviv, the future of Israeli settlements, and the two-state solution. Thanks so much for coming in.
My pleasure.
So, to begin, Donald Trump promised during his campaign, like every other candidate since 1995, that he would finally move the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Now that he's a president-elect, can we expect that to happen? Do you think he's really going to follow through?
Well, I think President-elect Trump, like other presidents, will now have to face reality. There are all sorts of things that one says in electoral campaigns that are easy to say in campaigns that are much harder to deliver on once you're in office. And I think Mr. Trump will have to realize that as president, he has to run the world, so to speak. And things that he says, let alone does, have dramatic results, and they can lead to all sorts of consequences. They can lead to mass. If the United States now moves the embassy to Jerusalem, the result will probably be mass demonstrations throughout the Arab world. Maybe more than demonstrations, maybe severe violence. That's something you have to take into account. The question is also, what does moving the embassy to Jerusalem mean? Is he saying, I'm moving it to West Jerusalem and just recognizing West Jerusalem as Israel's capital? That's something that I think all of us find consensual in Israel. Or is he talking about something beyond that, East Jerusalem, in which case the Arab world will be up in arms?
Now, the Obama White House and State Department have always been very critical of Israeli settlements, which is another major issue and obstacle to peace between the Israelis and Palestinians. How do you think a Trump policy is going to affect Israeli settlements today?
Well, again, I think things that you see from here, you don't see from there. And we'll see what President Trump thinks and does once he's actually in office. The question is, what is good for Israel? Now, some people believe that the settlements are good for us, that Israeli control of the West Bank is good for our long-term future. And other people believe, this is myself included, that Israel's ongoing control of the West Bank threatens our future as a primarily Jewish and democratic state. So is he going to leave us alone with that? Is that good for us? I don't think so. Other people think it is good for us. I would also take into account that maybe in the short term he'll decide to leave Israel alone. But if he finds as president that this doesn't meet his needs, maybe conflicts with some of his needs in the Arab world, the international community, this is a guy who has no sentiments. I mean, this is really a case of le'atah moi. I'm the state. And what's good for me is what's good for the world. He can change his positions overnight without blinking twice.
Now, we've seen a lot of Israeli leaders, especially Education Minister Naftali Bennett, come out and say that this is the end of the era of the idea of a Palestinian statehood now that Trump is going to be president. He announced that he would give up on a two-state solution for as long as Israel would. Is there any indication that there's a chance for a two-state solution now that Trump will be in power?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think there was a chance for a two-state solution for this foreseeable future in any event before this election. The current Israeli government is a hardline rightist government. It's not about to make the concessions that would be required for a deal. The Palestinians are, I think, hopelessly split between the West Bank and Gaza. If they wanted to make a deal, at least if the PA wanted to, they couldn't. And President Abbas is on his way out. Now we have Washington, which I don't think will be minded towards a deal either, so we don't have any of the components that we need to reach a deal. But again, I believe that a two-state solution isn't just in Israel's interest, it's absolutely vital.
Well, thank you so much for coming in. We're just going to have to wait and see what a Trump presidency looks like.
Absolutely. Thank you.